What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fire Sports Takes podcast. As I'm assuming you can tell by my voice, we got a little bit of a flu game situation going on here today. The nose is stuffed, the head is pounding, the body is achy. Over under 150 steps taken by your boy today. We're going to have to lean on the under there. But nevertheless, here I am. You talk about a gritty performance out of the kid today. You're getting one here. But we had, I would say, an electric, but I think I've been throwing around that word too much. I just think the best taste in my mouth is the one that we had at the end of the slate because it was an electric game between Georgia and Ole Miss. And for all of you that listened to my the ultimate college football playoff preview, there was one team that I said who was getting a bye that seemed like a little bit of a paper tiger to me, that I didn't trust as much as the others. Who was that team, chat? Let me know. Oh, the screaming is not optimal right now, but let me fucking know. Who did I say? I said Georgia. And you know why I said Georgia? Because I said Georgia doesn't generate any sacks and they don't generate any turnovers. Well, they did get one turnover today, scooped it, ran it into the end zone, still wasn't enough. How many times did they sack Trinidad Chambliss today? Let's take a look. Oh, 0. 0 sacks. It's almost like I said this. It's almost like I said, they don't generate any pressure. Not a typical Georgia team. Here we are, 0 sacks. And on some of the biggest plays that Trinidad Chambliss made today, when he wasn't rolling out of the pocket or extending the plays, like he had time to sit back in the pocket and let this. I know it's not Lane Kiffin's system, but it's Lane Kiffin's scheme. And this scheme I know this from watching these nerds on TikTok and YouTube when we were scouting Jackson Darts. It was like they run a few concepts, but they work often at the college level. And that was on case today. If you have time to sit back in the pocket, which Trinidad did, and even when they did get pressure, he would just run away from them. And I have not done my homework on Trinidad Chambliss as an NFL prospect, so I don't know where he's going today, like where he's mocked to go, if he's going to declare this year. I don't think he is, but he's like 23. He played in Division II. I think they said on the broadcast he won a Division II national championship. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know where he projects as an NFL prospect. But I don't know how you watch this game today and don't think, okay, that guy has legitimate franchise quarterback upside. Genuinely, I don't know how you think. I don't know how you watch Ole Miss and this offense operate with Trinidad Chambliss. I don't know how you watch Trinidad Chambliss in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia, one of the best defenses in the country, especially in the back half of the year, and don't think, yeah, that guy could potentially be a franchise quarterback. I just don't know how you don't see that. He was making off-platform throws. He was getting the ball out fast. And yes, he did have a lot of time in the pocket. This Georgia defense isn't the Georgia defense of the early 2020s, one of the earlier Kirby Smart national championship defenses, because they were 120th in sacks, 104th in turnovers created. They didn't sack Chambliss a single time today. So we don't know. We can't really tell how he does under pressure against an elite pass rush. We'll get a good look at that against Miami. But he was making throws off platform, on the run, with deadly accuracy. He was evading sacks and extending plays at an elite level. And some of the touch on some of the deep balls was just unbelievable, elite stuff. There was one where he caught it with one hand, high snap, caught it with one hand, flick of the wrist, dot. On the 2-minute drill, the 40-yard completion, absolute dot. Like, I don't know how you don't watch this game and think Trinidad Chambliss, against one of the best defense in the country, in the Sugar Bowl, in the Caesars Superdome, played one of his best games of the season, how you can't think that guy has potential franchise quarterback upside. I don't know how you can't think that. You have to be a hater or a Mississippi State fan. And before we go any further here in this, I just want to make sure I didn't fuck something up here, because I just posted a video on TikTok, and I said that the last throw in the fourth quarter was to Wallace. If that throw wasn't to Wallace, I think it wasn't to Stribling. I'm pretty sure it was to Wallace, but I just want to make sure so I don't sound like a real idiot here. Also, the ending of that game, I don't even want to pretend to try. I don't even want to try and figure out what happened in the end of that game with there was a safety, but there was a second left on the clock, so they ran a free kick, but since Georgia fell on it, no time ran off the clock, so they ran another play. And then that lateral play at the end of the game was actually pretty fun, but whatever. Hopefully it was Wilson. Trinidad, oh no, it was completed to Stribling. I got to delete that TikTok. Wow, what a dumbass I am. Bear with me here for a second. Listen, this is a flu game out of the kid. Some are saying this is a more bolder performance than what. You know what? The TikTok's kind of doing fine. I'll just leave it up anyway. How come my Fernando Mendoza TikTok has only gotten fucking 5 views, bro? This deserves more love. Whatever. Okay, moving on. Not the point of the episode today. What a game for Trinidad. what a game for Gunnar Stockton, too. That guy is a gamer. He's unbelievable. Some of the throws that he made today, like there was one where he took off like he was going to run. He baited the linebacker in, then he dumped it off, got absolutely lit up, jumps right back up. He was taking a beating tonight from this Ole Miss defense. Zachariah Branch is a stud. There was one play in that, I think it was the drive before their field goal drive, where he had Zachariah Branch. He decided not to let it rip, and he checked it down. If he lets that rip, I think it's a completely different ball game. But Gunnar Stockton was an absolute baller today. His hairline's going to recede a little bit once he goes back and watches the tape and sees Zachariah Branch. I don't know if it can recede that much farther, but that's a stray there for Gunnar. Unnecessary stray out of me on Gunnar there. That's on me, hand up. That's on me, Gunnar. But he's a fucking gamer. Kewan Lacey's a stud. This Ole Miss team now, they go and face a Miami who is scorching hot, and they do have a good pass rush. We'll get into Miami momentarily, but it was just what a game for Ole Miss. What a game for these Ole Miss playmakers. The head coach, I don't know his name, but the offensive coordinator, they must have showed him a million times, and he was like, I'm not going with you, Lane Kiffin, to LSU if I don't get to coach out the rest of the season with Ole Miss. And his play calling today was terrific. The offense today for Ole Miss was terrific. Even the defense for Ole Miss, they kept them in the game in the third quarter. Forcing a punt, forcing a long field goal, giving this offense a chance to come back and tie. And then what was the big play? Did Kewan Lacey rip one off? When they scored their like the big play to get him into the red zone, where they eventually scored their last touchdown, or their touchdown to make it a 3-point game. No, it was a completion to Harrison Wallace. I don't know what the fuck I watched. I don't know what game I watched. I'm sick. Let me be here. But either way, the moral of the story is, I said Georgia was going to lose. Trinidad Shambliss was electric. These receiving cores, Wallace and Stribling, they were electric. Kewan Lacey was electric. This Georgia defense wasn't as good as everybody thought it was. I said that. They don't generate pressure. They don't create turnovers. Gunnar Stockton's a dog. Zachariah Branch is a dog. Frazier, the running back for Georgia, is a dog. This game was just so fun on so many levels. An offensive masterclass from both sides outside of the Kewan Lacey fumble. But you do have to give some credit to Ole Miss, whose defense, I think they played a lot better this time around than they did the first time, because Georgia just drained the clock. That was like Georgia came into this game leading the country outside. I think they were second in the country to JMU in time of possession, and they didn't punt the first time they played Ole Miss in Athens. You got to give Ole Miss credit, Ole Miss's defense some credit for at least getting a few stops and playing complementary football where the offense, they're moving here, but we're down a few possessions, especially after that scoop and score. Like, okay, get us a stop here. Offense comes down, scores a touchdown, and it was just so complimentary, bending, not breaking. It was a really good football game by Ole Miss. And we got to talk about the fourth down in your own territory. Kirby, bro. What are we doing going for that? I don't understand that play call at all in that scenario. What were they on their own 30-yard line? I understand your defense is getting cooked, but at that point in the game, there was just no need. And on that play, it was confusing because the left tackle, I don't think did he know they were going for it? Was there something wrong with the soft count? Because I forget the guy's name that got the sack. Here, let me look real quick. By Perkins just ran right by him, and Gunnar Stockton didn't have a chance. So I'm just so confused on that. Yeah, they were at their own 33 and they went for it. That was questionable. Didn't understand that call. The fake punt was just textbook Kirby, bro. I cooked today, by the way, Chad. I absolutely cooked today. I picked Ole Miss. I picked Indiana. I picked Oregon. 3-0, clean sweep. Obviously, I picked Ohio State yesterday. Everybody picked Ohio State. And if they're telling you different, they're probably lying, or they're good for them. They got one. They knew ball there. I got the over in this game. So technically, I think I went 4-1 today. Right? Am I doing this math? So I guess I went 4-3 on the picks that I gave on the preview episode, because I said the over in the Oregon game, that didn't hit. So I went 4-1 today. I went 4-2 in total, because I said Ole Miss. I said Ole Miss money line sprinkle, but that wasn't on the side. I said Ole Miss spread, Indiana spread, Oregon spread. The over in Oregon, that's a loss, and then the over in Ole Miss Georgia, that's a dub. That's 5. Dude, Chad, it's a flu game today. Let's run it back one more time. For some reason, I can't count. Ole Miss spread, Oregon spread, Indiana spread, the over in Ole Miss, the over in. I went 4-2. Chad. Bear with me here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a flu game here. Some are saying this is more brave than when Michael Jordan did it. Better flu game, a flu podcast. Jordan could never. That's what some are saying. It's a brazen performance out of the boy today. Oh, we're struggling to get through this here, ladies and gentlemen. But I will push through for the boys, for the love of football, for the love of college football. What a game this was, though, and it was rightful. We deserved a game like this because we had some absolute fucking stinkers, some absolute stinky poo poo. Alabama got blown out in the Rose Bowl to Indiana. Just saying that sentence out loud does not make a whole lot of sense here, ladies and gentlemen. What world are we living in? Seriously. But what a performance by not only Fernando Mendoza, but by this Indiana defense holding an Alabama offense to just 3 points. And I understand that Ty Simpson got hurt. It would not have mattered. They were just the more physical football team. They were just better at all three phases. Literally they were better at everything. It was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. They couldn't cover Surratt. They couldn't cover the white guy that is his roommate. Let me pull up the box score so I don't get his name wrong. Charlie Becker. Fernando Mendoza was spraying the ball around. 3 receivers with over 40 yards. Hemby and Black were both averaging 5 yards a carry. Hemby 5, Black 6.5. It was just imposing their will all game long. Fernando Mendoza threw 2 incompletions, 3 touchdowns, more touchdowns than incompletions. He was deadly accurate. The throw to Surratt, the first touchdown to Becker was a dot. The throw to Surratt was just really a nasty route. And I honestly think that Mendoza underthrew it a little bit, but either way, touchdown, dot. I mean, Surratt's going to be, I think he can play his way into it. Like, I think this receiving class has a lot of like mid or late first round, early second round talent. That like Denzel Boston, Jacoby Lane, Elijah Surratt, I think are a few guys that I think you can get some real value on in this receiving class in the late first, early second round. I'm just throwing that out there, thinking out loud here. Just utter dominance out of Indiana. They are the real deal. They look like the best team in the country. And them against Oregon, rematch, man, rematch. Oregon's defense was not as good as they were the first time that these two played. Dante Moore also wasn't as good as he looked today. And I think Dante Moore played incredible despite the interception that was bad. And now listen, here's another thing about that. I mean, I don't know what else we want to talk about in this Indiana game. Fernando Mendoza is a stud. Fernando Mendoza looks like a franchise quarterback, but everything he says and the way he carries himself too is like, why would you not want that guy in the locker room? Every single interview that this guy has, it's like, yeah, the Heisman is a team award. I wouldn't do this without my teammates. He like gives all his credit to his teammates. He's definitely the most A+++ person and locker room guy that you could ever want. And then he's also 6'5", was way more mobile today than he was really for a good portion of the year. Like his legs really impressed me against Alabama, and he has an absolute hose, deadly elite ball accuracy. Obviously the way he progresses through his reads, his processing is up to par as well, with only room to grow. Like he makes some bad decisions. He has some bad interceptions on tape for sure, but he has a cannon, the typical prototypical build, and you're not going to hear a lick of off the field stuff or in the locker room stuff with Fernando Mendoza. If the only knock on the guy is that he's a little corny, that was the knock on Russell Wilson. That guy has a couple of Super Bowls. So I think Fernando Mendoza is a legit franchise quarterback, should be the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. He's a stud for real. And he displayed that not only against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, but now against Alabama, who did have one of the best pass defenses in the SEC for what it's worth. So it's not like this Alabama defense stinks. So Fernando Mendoza, franchise guy, certified. Let's talk now. Let's move on to Oregon, Texas Tech. Listen, as we're talking, we're a lot of franchise guy talk going around here, and I'm not saying like that Trinidad Chambliss will be, but I don't know how you watch that game and say, okay, this guy can't be. Like it's obviously in there. Same thing with Dante Moore. I was very impressed with him today. Obviously, had the fumbled like transaction on the play action. It looked like a play action boot, I think it was, and there was a snap that went over his head, a snap that was dribbled into the ground. Like it was more on the center than him. The interception was bad, but he is deadly accurate. He's deadly accurate on the run. I don't think he's mobile enough to really be an elite quarterback in the modern NFL, at least at times today when plays broke down. He wasn't really doing much in terms of creating, and he was taking bad hits. And the argument with Jaden Daniels is like he takes a lot of bad hits, but he's also creating in the run game with his legs. Dante Moore just takes bad hits. Like he's not trying to make people miss, and if he does, it's weak efforts. So that's a little concerning. I don't think he has like the mobility upside of what you need. Like you think about the elite quarterbacks, the only one that just does it purely out of the pocket, and I'm talking elite, is Joe Burrow. And I don't think Dante Moore is Joe Burrow, bro. I don't even think Fernando Mendoza is Joe Burrow. But Fernando Mendoza displayed more efficient use of his legs than Dante Moore did. I will say though, this as bad as like as fraudulent as Texas Tech is going to be called, this defense was still a problem. This defense was getting after Dante Moore all day long. Like they were in his face. The defensive line is legit, and we hear all this stuff about Rodriguez, the linebacker. I think Ben Roberts was the best linebacker for them today and the best linebacker for them in the Big 12 championship game. He was a stud. So it wasn't just one player. Like it wasn't just the offense in Texas Tech, obviously fraudulent. JMU had more success moving the football against Oregon starters. They moved the ball right down the field on their first two drives, kicked the field goal, then a field goal got blocked. Texas Tech, other than that one, not Dickey, Jacoby Williams run in the first half, had no type of yard. They were not moving the ball whatsoever. Baron Morton was horrible. And how could I almost forget to talk about Brandon Finney, ladies and gentlemen? This guy is Sauce Gardner, too. Now, I don't want to say Sauce Gardner, too, because he has better ball skills than Sauce Gardner. But he's true freshman, 6'2", 203 here. He has that elite quarterback build. I don't know what his wingspan looks like, but he looks long. And, you know, the Sauce Gardner comp's not even fair either because this guy tackles. Sauce Gardner doesn't tackle. He doesn't contribute in the run game. This guy gets his nose there. He puts his head on the fucking football, and he's a heat-seeking missile in the run game. So, like, Brandon Finney, true freshman, that guy's going to be a real problem. A little bit of Will Johnson vibes because Will Johnson was a stud for a few years at Michigan. Brandon Finney's the real deal. Oregon not only found themselves a superstar on the defensive side of the ball, they have one in Decorian Moore on the offensive side of the ball as well for the next decade. Excuse me now for the no. I gotta blow my nose here. Flu game out of the way. And if you think I'm editing that out, you got a real misunderstanding here. I'm not lazy. I'm not a lazy guy. Maybe I'll edit it out. I'll edit it. No, I'm not going to do it. Fuck it. I already said it. I already made it a bit. I'm not going to do it. I'm committed to the bit, not editing that out. Sorry you had to hear that. Brandon Finney, stud, fumble recovery, which is more like I mean, people add that to the statistic. Like I made a TikTok about him. I'm adding that to the statistic for the allure for content purposes, but like, bro, he's just the right place, right time. The two interceptions, though, the second one was garbage. The first one was just a nasty play on the ball. He has legit ball skills. He's sticky in coverage. He allowed one of the lowest completion percentages in the country for all corners, according to PFF. He is a real problem. And if you're listening, I'm looking at his ESPN like bio here. It says Owlings Mills, Maryland, and friend of the program, absolute goat, Aiden Charles. He is from the DMV area. And he would tell me all the time, yeah, we got some of the best football players, high school football in the world. I wonder if that guy's from there. Brandon Finney, Owing Mills, Maryland. I don't know, or Owling Mills. I can't tell. My monitor's from like 2015, literally. So it's getting blurry here. Time for an upgrade. Hit the follow button so we can get an upgrade. Hit the subscribe button so we can get an upgrade on the monitor. What other talking points are there in this game? I don't know. I was very impressed with Dante Moore. And like I saw people on Twitter talking about, yeah, Dante Moore not good. I'm like, are we watching the same game? Did we watch the same game? What else? Lee Hunter, Dog, David Bay, like the guys on this Texas Tech defensive line. Like if I see, usually it's like, do you trust a Big 12 defensive lineman, right? But now if I see Texas Tech defensive lineman drafted in the first or second round, or any defensive player on this Texas Tech defense, I'm going to trust them because they are the real deal. They are the real deal. And, oh, we got to talk about that the two Samoan guys or whatever, the guys from Hawaii. Uegale, who had the strip sack and the touchdown, and then Tui, who had, I'm butchering those names, but he had the fourth down punt. That was just beautifully drawn up, beautifully executed, and he had a few major sacks as well. They sacked Barron 4 times. And yeah, nobody gave this Oregon defense a whole lot of credit. They shut down an offense today that was averaging 42 points per game going into the tournament, the most out of any team in the country, or most out of any team in the bracket. So you got to tip your hat to this Oregon defense. And as bad as their offense looked at Texas Tech, I still think that defense was one of the best in the country. It was as advertised. Morton played horrible. They weren't able to get Dickey going on the ground. And quite frankly, their receivers just weren't getting much separation. And that's where I was wrong in my analysis on this team. I thought that Douglas and Virgil were a little bit slept on. Clearly, I was incorrect. They could not get open for worth a lick against these Oregon corners. Good for Oregon. I think they're a real wagon as well. Indiana, that's going to be a good game. Like, that game was close. That game was close to the fourth quarter. That's going to be a very good game. I think that's the national championship, I want to say. Like, I'm pretty preemptively, like, whoever wins that game, I think would go on to win the national championship. But I'll do a whole semifinal preview at some point next week. So make sure you follow, subscribe. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's talk about Friday night game. Let you guys know that I was working, put on an absolute flu game performance. Shout out my boy Ian if he's listening. Shout out Josh if they're listening. The boys put on an absolute clinic on New Year's Eve. Let me tell you, they put on an absolute clinic. Unfortunately, I was only really able to catch the second half of this game. Most importantly, the fourth quarter. Before we slander Ohio State, and I don't want to slander Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith is the greatest college wide receiver ever. I said it. I think it's Devontae Smith is right there, right? Jeremiah Smith had more receiving yards in the playoffs than Devontae Smith has had, and it's been 5 games. Jeremiah Smith, through 5 games, Jeremiah Smith's played 5 college football playoff games. He has more yards than Devontae Smith did in his 5 college football playoff games. They both have a national championship. Devontae Smith had, Smitty had 2 though. Smitty has 2, right? So I guess Jeremiah needs 1 more in that if we're going like that. And Smitty had the game winner that 1 year, but Smitty wasn't as dominant as Jeremiah was or is going to be now for all 3 years. Like, I don't think it's crazy to say that. And he was unstoppable last night as well. A couple of untimely drops by Carnell Tate. Not the easiest grabs either. But a couple of miscues from Carnell Tate. A couple of plays that I bet he's losing sleep over, wishing he could have had back, knowing the type of receiver he is, the type of standard receivers hold themselves to in that Ohio State receiving room that I think LSU is wide receiver you. They the best 2 receivers in the league went to LSU. And I love Ohio State. I think if you're talking top 20 receivers in the league, there's more Ohio State receivers in the top 20 than LSU receivers, but the 2 best receivers in the league are LSU receivers. The 3 best rookie seasons by an NFL player or by a receiver have all been LSU receivers. Like Justin Jefferson's rookie year, Jamar Chase's rookie year, Odell Beckham's rookie year, and he did it in 13 games, by the way. All LSU receivers. Malik Neighbors, LSU receiver. BTJ's rookie year, LSU receiver. Like, these guys are just ridiculous. Not to say Ohio State receivers haven't had great rookie seasons either, but it has never been to the level of these LSU ones. And the overall, their career, like, LSU receivers have had better careers than Ohio State receivers have, at least in recent memory, in recent history. It's just the quantity of Ohio State receivers is higher, but the quality of LSU receivers is higher. They both have an argument, and I'm a Garrett Wilson glazer till the day I die. I think Garrett Wilson is just as talented. The only receiver, I've said this before, and I'll say it again if you're a new listener, the only receiver, if I'm the Jets and somebody calls me, hey, I'll trade you this receiver 1 for 1 for Garrett Wilson, the only 2 receivers I'm saying yes, maybe 3 now with Puka, is Puka, Jamar, Jettas. And I think Puka's also better than JSN. I do. JSN's gross, but Puka is just incredible. I think Puka's better than JSN. JSN's a dog, though. Also, throw Garrett Wilson in that with Sam Darnold and get him the depth of target. We'll get him a quarterback that can throw the ball accurate. We're not making this a Garrett Wilson thing. Let's move on here. Miami, Ohio State. We're getting off track here. Flu game. Talk about mean, bully, fuck you. We're bigger, stronger, more physical. We're more manly. We have higher testosterone than you type of drive. That was the last drive by Miami and Mark Fletcher. Right down your fucking face. We're bigger than you. We're stronger than you. We're going to make that known right here, right now. Just straight fuck you football. And it was pure and it was entertaining to watch, even though I was betting on I bet on Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate to get 200 combined receiving yards. They ended like 4 yards short. That's neither here nor there. What a drive to end the game. I think that drive was just straight, fuck you, we're here, we're real. They have the best offensive line. They have the best defensive line. Carson Beck didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make any stupid plays from at least what I could see. That's worth noting as well. And the pick six is really what was the difference. The Ohio State, Miami made less mistakes than Ohio State. And Ohio State's fans are mad about the no calls, like there wasn't a single call on flag on Miami. That's worth noting. You're allowed to be upset about that. I didn't watch the game in totality because I was at work. So I can't say if there was missed calls or if there wasn't. And I'm not going to go based off screenshots on Twitter because if you screenshotted every single NFL play, there's a penalty on every single one. So I'm not going to go off of that either. So that's a fair place to be. That's a fair place to be. But I think Ohio State fans are also, at least the Ohio State fans that I know, like they're not really, like they're chill. Like they're not insufferable. Like I feel like they get made out to be. And I think they can acknowledge that they were just not as strong. They were not as physical. And they got outmanned. That's really the reality of the situation. They got outmanned in that game against Miami. Miami was the better defensive line, the better offensive line. And Carson Beck played better than Julian Sayin from what I saw. They made less mistakes. So yeah, good win for Miami. And Ohio State was not fraudulent. They still beat Texas. I think that game counts. Let's not pretend like that game doesn't count. Okay, it was in week 1. They beat Texas. I think Texas should have gotten in the college football playoff over Miami. What a dumbass I look like now, though, because Miami's good for Miami, man. I don't know how they lost to SMU and Louisville. What are we doing? How does that happen? The moral of the story, though, is that the more teams we put in, the more we're seeing how dumb the 4-team college football playoff was. Did we really get the best teams that won the national championship those years? Because think about all the teams that got byes. Only one team with a bye won today. Last year, I don't remember what it was last year. Notre Dame didn't have a bye. They won. Penn State, did Penn State have a bye? No, Penn State didn't have a bye. They were in the semifinal. Georgia had a bye. They weren't in the Ohio State didn't have a bye. They were in the semifinal. Who was the other team? I don't remember. Flu game, whatever. But all those years, the 6 years, 7 years that we did with the 4-team playoff, look at it now. Did we really have the best team win the national championship that year? Some are saying. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Go listen to yesterday's episode or 2 days ago. Fire Sports Takes, Week 18 preview. It's electric. I break down every single thing you need to know going into this NFL Week 18 slate, including the Saturday games. Make sure you go subscribe, follow. Going live tomorrow on TikTok. I'll be going live all day Saturday, really, on TikTok as well. We'll be totally dialed in. I would have went live today if I wasn't feeling like dog shit. But I love you guys all. I hope you guys won some money. I won some money today. Good thing. Things are trending in the right direction. I've been pretty surgical recently, so that's something I'm going to hang my hat on here. I've been very, very surgical recently. But I love you guys. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys on the next episode of Fire Sports Takes podcast.